Hi, Nir. Welcome to the EOWonder Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, why don't you tell the audience who you are, which chapter you're from, and your business?
Okay, let's go. My name is Nir Zavaro. I born and raised in Israel, in Tel Aviv. I think one of the best cities, if not the best on the planet, which I love. I've even written 2 novels about. I own a marketing agency called Streetwise. We do outsource marketing for various companies, mainly tech, startups, all the way up to unicorns and giants, where we help them anything from their brand, but on more the story side, the core values, who they are, why does it matter, what's their unique value proposition or selling proposition, and working with their strategy all the way to doing the marketing from could be content or PPC, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on, all the way up to YouTube channels and podcasts. As long as it's fun, I'm interested.
What time is it in Israel right now?
So this is Friday, our weekend, and it's 10 p.m. And I just couldn't say no to you. I just wanted to meet you.
What chapter are you with?
So I joined in 2015. I joined the EO Israel chapter. Actually, I don't think we've ever talked about it, but the reason I joined EO was I accidentally got into a bachelor party in Berlin, Germany. And one of the guests in that wedding was my army sergeant, which I couldn't stand because that's why I have so many problems with my back and knees. We ended up spending like 72 crazy hours, which I mainly remember from the hotel and a huge piano, a black piano, and a weird Russian ex-KGB club. And we're taking the subway. It's morning. It's 10 a.m. No one's speaking. And he's like, "So how's your business going?" I was like, "I don't know. I think I need some help." He said, "I'll hook you up when you go back to Israel." And he's an EO member in Seattle. So, Shahar Plina, huge hugs and thank you for everything. And that's how I joined. 2017, I was luckily invited to join the regional council in Europe. And I've been serving as the what used to be a communication chair, then became the member experience director, which no one knew what it meant at the time, but it was huge fun and I met the most amazing people. And this year, I'm mainly focusing on a new idea and I'm trying to prove a point whether we can use all the EO member stories to create some sort of a media company and actually earn money. So that's my test for this year.
Well, this is a perfect role for you because you are a prolific storyteller. You own a digital marketing agency. Why is storytelling so important to an entrepreneur? And can you give us some tips? I think we need tips.
I'll give you a tip. Can I give an EO tip before that? So
Absolutely.
when we join EO, there's a tendency to be voluntold, to join and do different roles. And it's always interesting because they say, oh, you own a marketing agency, go be the communication chairs of your chapter, right? You have an events company, go do the learning. And in my opinion, that's where we look at it the wrong way. If I own a marketing agency and I do marketing for my chapter, that means I'm giving my time and my experience for free. I'm not getting anything back. I'm just giving, right? But what if I became the learning chair and I got the chance to meet these amazing people and interview them before they come to my chapter's event? Now I'm getting value, I'm improving. When I go back to my business, for example, and I want to do an event, wow, I have more experience. I have learned different things, If you're a person who's a bit shy, then taking the strategic alliance chair could be amazing. Or if you're new to a certain area, you move to a new city and you want to build relationships, right? Then being a strategic alliance could be great. Finance is a great way to look at things a bit differently and so on. But I think you get my drift is do something that isn't in your core business, then you get something out of it, which is a very important thing in EO, but you also give back. And I think for me, it was also always easy. So I try to intrigue myself and create different opportunities within being a marketing person in that role. But if you look at it, everyone's a storyteller, right? Everyone. You come back home, honey, how was your day, right? You tell them, how was your day? You can be boring about it, And that could be the best story ever. And it's a decision. And if you think about it, it's very simple. It's what is the point you want to get across, right? And we all know that. If you go to a meeting and you need to sell something, or within your team, you want to present something, you can go over a 15-minute, very boring slide, or you can think about it like a movie trailer, 2.5, 3 minutes. By the way, that's what we do with startups. We cut down all the hassle and the 15-minute talk, and what became now an elevator pitch or pitch deck that I work with startups is usually 3 or 4 minutes long. That's it. Then you need to decide what goes in. Now we're creating a trailer. If it's interesting, what happens, I want to see it, right? Same goes to, but I have some question. Then the conversation can revolve about what interests the audience. But can you create a good trailer? And everybody can do it. So 3 minutes would be something along the lines of 400 words in normal speaking speed in English. So it's easy. We sometimes think we need all the details. We don't. When I do most of my workshops, for example, I've learned something interesting is I can tell you a very short story, a 5-6 word story, and ask the audience to fill the gap, right? And in the 200 or 220 talks and workshops I've done with that same sentence, I've never in my life received the same story. People will fill the gaps. When I've written 2 novels. I love writing books. Okay, it's about my generation, the fact that we kind of got lost. When you look at it, it's the same story every decade and every generation, right? Technology, things change. It always looks better a few decades before, right? In the 60s, it was amazing. In the 80s, it was amazing. But if you look at it, the 80s kind of sucked. But nostalgia, how do you create that? You create a feeling. You create something people can relate, they can imagine. And what is a book at the end of the day? It is lines, ink lines, and a white paper. I have never in my life seen a dragon, but when I read a book, oh, I'm scared of that dragon. Can we create that? And in that sense, we need to instill an idea and let that idea thrive in a way that when people get to page 100, 120, 140, they're on the edge of the seats or the beds. They need to know what's going to happen to that character, which most probably doesn't exist. Simple.
Well, it's simple to you, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who probably are more logical, analytical, impatient, who just want to get the facts out. They don't want to weave someone through a story for 2.5 minutes. That's probably why they need to hire you.
But if you think about it, if you're analytical and you're short, that's great. You write all the points you need to get across. Okay, you put them on a Post-it, for example. I use the back of this wall where you see now is where I've written my second novel and I'm working on my third book. I use Post-its. These are the facts. These are the go-tos that I have to come across in the next chapter. They need to be there. But is it interesting if I'll tell you point 1, 2, 3? No. But if I tell you how I got there, okay, so for example, my third book is my first actual business book, and it's called The Business Catcher. And how can you look at your business on a marketing perspective and always fix something? It always improves small things, right? Don't kill everything. Build one layer upon the other until you have a great marketing strategy, execution, the story improves, and so on. So I could have written a book that says, hi, here's an amazing concept, 6 steps, and you're done, and it's great. But the book starts when when I was 26, I decided I'm going to write the best marketing book ever. And I started to write and write and write. For the next 72 hours, all I did was drink water, have one nap, and write. When I finished, I looked at it and I said, wow, this is such a boring book. Everyone can say what I've said. It's not interesting. The book you're reading now is my 15-year journey to do marketing in all aspects and all the possibilities, to share with you the experiences I think will help you become better at marketing. It goes through all the failures and all the ideas, all the things I thought were going to be amazing. And the book is not 6 steps. It's everything I did and where did I screw up? Where did I make a mistake? Where did I not have enough experience in those 6 stages? Why do I think I have something to teach you? And I think breaking down in a way that, oh, I went to work, it was interesting, I had a good day, rather than one small thing that happened to you. You know, it's about the audience at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's definitely, these anecdotes that we remember. Like if you had said, "Oh, here are the 12 bullet points you need to remember," we probably wouldn't know that. But if you had weaved your struggles, and when you share your things that are painful, people definitely, remember that. So maybe you can share one struggle or one story for
One
marketing
struggle.
to our audience.
I'm thinking about one good story. When I was 32, I owned a bar. When we opened, it was one of the most successful bars in Tel Aviv, which is not a simple thing to achieve here. We had celebrities, famous people. I would go outside and grab beer glasses from the end of the street. It was so packed, people couldn't get in. At that time, I had a job, a day job, which I thought or assumed would be my day-to-day job for the next 20 or 30 years. But the way the bar was going, it was so amazing. But the high we got to was nothing compared to the low we might manage to achieve. We lost everything. It didn't work out. People didn't like the drinks. The food was okay. Management was sucked. Day after day, it started to dwindle, started to go down. We got to the point where we would sit there, 3 or 4 from a group of partners. That's it. $50, that was the cash at the end of the night. A normal night. Before, amazing. And we decided we have to fix it, but we didn't know exactly how. I decided I need to take the responsibility. I quit my job. It was a good job. And for 6 months, I learned how to fix the business, everything. Now, at that time, my experience was working for the government, the American embassy, and selling snowboards. That was it. Okay. Now I needed to learn how to market a bar, fix the place, how to run it, how to do management, inventory, all the things I didn't know. I didn't even like doing. 6 months. I fixed it, broke even, managed to sell the debt and leave. I remember that day we finalized the contract. I was 32. And I'm driving on my motorbike and I'm going to an ATM to take out some cash because I needed some gas. And it swallows my card. In those days, my dad worked at the bank. I called him and I said, listen, it's weird. It just swallowed my card. And I'm in the middle of the street. I need gas. And he looks at my bank account. He works at the bank. He says, there's a concept. You need actual money in the bank account when you want to take money out. And you have none. I say, okay, I understand. It was at that point where in the insurance here for the bike, you get one time that they can tow it. I told it to the nearest shop and I told him, listen, I need you to sell it by tomorrow. As much as you can get, great. I left the apartment I was staying in with a great guy, which used to be my flatmate at the time. And he paid for rent for about 6 or 7 months because I didn't have any money. I told him, listen, I'm going. I'll pay you back. And I went to live on friends' couches. So at 32, I started from scratch. I didn't have anything. And I remember when I was 20 in the army, I read this novel. I said, writing a novel, that's so easy. I'll write a novel. But I need time. And at 32, I had no money, nothing left, nothing to my name. The only thing I had was time. So I decided I need to write a novel. And that's how I wrote my first novel, which was about 13 months, a great experience. And the best part is it rekindled my passion to marketing and sales because I had to sell by myself the first 500 copies, do the marketing, do the posts, do everything. And I managed to sell all of them within, I think it was about 2 weeks of the holidays, Jewish holidays. My agency started from there. So it's been, just about a bit over 10 years now.
That is phenomenal. I also used to couch surf and take showers at a public restroom. So I completely understand. 22 years later, when you have your business. So
What
totally
was your
get
turning
it.
point, by the way?
my turning point, I read this book called The Energy of Money. And that book talked about standards of integrity. And then when you realize what your standards of integrity are, that you're full of integrity, you're trustworthy, you start living your life like that. Like that. I didn't even know anything, I mean, I went to a private, university, New York University. I had a great, air quotes education, but I didn't really know, and that's one thing that EO talks about, right? Our values, understanding. Once I understood what my values or who I was able to live it. And
Do you,
then
do you
everything
think
fell in place.
do you think college universities are still valid in this time? Is this still something people need to do for
I
the
think
education?
I think first tier universities for the network, for who you know. You can learn anything on YouTube.
Anything.
How
By
about
the way,
you?
the reason why I'm picking your brain a little bit is
Yeah,
I've been teaching in college about brand
yeah,
management, the way brands behave, how
yeah,
they start from a story, how they
yeah.
become a business, how they sell for $1 billion, how they become from two people an idea all the way to an organization. And I've done that the past 7 years. I've taught about 20 different classes. I love the students. It's always amazing. It's inspirational. I still learn from them every day. But this year I decided to quit. And the reason is I think we need to teach in a different way. We need to pass on the
Absolutely.
torch. So YouTube, you can learn, right? The 1, 2, 3, how to tell a good story, whatever, how to do marketing, how to do a better campaign. But can you teach a passion? And I work with brands these days, with big brands, on the understanding that you can sell, you can be successful, you can be a good brand, you can do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you're just like everyone else. And where does the unique part come in? The unique part, by the way, in a brand is their story or the experience, their values, their language, right? Quick and fast are not the same things. If you understand that concept, why is that important to me as a marketer? We do it by using your force. Today we get a brand book, it's mainly graphics. But if you can give me a round character, like in a book, of what that brand stands for, I know how to take that megaphone and scream it to everyone, whether it's Facebook or Snap or LinkedIn or a podcast or whatever. But if I don't, you're deeming that concept to a failure at a certain point, because we're out in the dark guessing whether you as a person will like the way we talk as your brand. Why? Simplify. Create a round persona, right? We do it for clients, by the way, right? We have the client personas, but we don't do it for ourselves. And you see it now in Israel with in huge numbers when the employer branding has become so important here. I don't know if you know, but Israel has had 32 unicorns in the last 6 or 8 months, I think. Okay, and we're not
I
a
didn't.
billion.
Wow.
A billion now doesn't count here. Okay, the numbers are staggering. We have more unicorns than Europe. Okay, we're 9 million with a workforce of I think 5 million. Europe is 500 million. So numbers are insane. What happened is we have shortage of everything in terms of developers, recruiters, marketeers, everything. The competition and employer branding is becoming so fierce. But they say, what is your employer value proposition, right? And I say, no. What do you believe in? What makes for a good story? What do you stand for? What are your core values? And no, I'm not talking about saying transparency, because you won't show me your salary, right? Or I don't know, being professional, right? That these things don't count. When you say, by the way, being all the words, right? Decent, experience, professional. Wait, we might not have the same values. We might not decide the same things. But for example, one of my values in my company is the number one is be a little bit of an entrepreneur. Okay. And why does that matter? Because my employees are always encouraged, and we're a small company, to come in, knock on the door, and say, hey, I've got this amazing idea. Sometimes they need to quit and go do it by themselves because I don't like it or I don't get it. But sometimes we can do it together. Sometimes when they see an opportunity, by the way, an opportunity could be to follow their dream to a bigger company, to a better job. One of my employees called me. I was in a foreign retreat, and she called me, said, "Hi, sorry, I know you're in this cult thing, but I just got approached by a huge company, okay? Huge company. A friend of mine works there, and they said maybe I'd be interested. I don't exactly know what it means or the job, but I thought I'd go for an interview." When she told me the company, I said, "You have to take the interview." She's been with me for over 3.5 years. Some of my best employees, when they left, they knocked on the door and said, "Listen, I'm not sure if I still have something here, or are we going to think about it? Do you think I should move on?" Okay. I sent CVs of my employees while they were working for me. Okay. Because I believe this is where we stand. Being a little bit of an entrepreneur means that together we come, and it's part of the process. People will come and people go. When you build that persona or that concept, I think your story is easy because you know where you came from, you know where you're going, your vision or brand or whatever you want to call it. Then it's easy. And for me, a good story is when I get it, I want to see the next episode, I want to see the next show, I want to see the next trailer or whatever. I want to be a part of. When I meet companies and I leave the meeting, I say, I want to be a part of that. When my team feels they're a
Well, I
part,
want to work for your company.
I would love. No, it's. By the way, if you want, in 2018, my first employee, he's been with me for years. I loved him. He was a student in the first class I taught. Okay. We were best friends, got along, it was great. And we got to the point where we couldn't stop arguing. Like a married couple. I can't explain it. Like we've been together, stuck for 20 years in the same room. It became so horrible for me that everything became something bad. He came with an idea. I would say, no, this is a bad idea. Doesn't matter what he said. Same went for when I came, and we couldn't find a common ground to talk. And I went on this call in EO with the region or whatever, and they said that next month in Dublin, we have the Mentorship Summit. And there's 50 seats. I said, great. It was like 10 days or whatever. I said, I'm coming. I bought a ticket and I went there. And I came there and I said, listen, I think I have a problem with mentoring. I think I can educate or whatever, but something's wrong. Put aside the fact that it was one of the best events I've ever been to because it was in Dublin, in St. Patrick's, when Ireland won for the third time after 105 years, okay? Like everything's going crazy. But the one day of the Mentorship Summit was so unbelievable. The impact it had. You know why? Because when I came back, we sat together, we spoke, and I told them, listen, I love you like a brother, but I think it's time for you to move on. I think you need to go to a different place. By the way, we are now doing a huge project with one of my clients and the place of employment where he works, okay? And he hasn't been with me for over 2 years. And we're still thinking about doing something together. So I think in that sense, EO has every aspect to create a good story, And the last night before we flew in Dublin, I asked one of the EO members, the Irish are the best storytellers. When you look at what everything is always a good story. And I asked Brian, wait, so how did you and your wife meet? You're such an interesting couple. They're so funny and everything. And he went on to tell me the story. And I thought, that's amazing. Every EO member has a different story. What if I could meet all of them and tell their stories? And in 2018, in September, it was Jewish holidays the whole month. I embarked on a journey to visit all the EO chapters in my region. And every day I met a different chapter, gave them a talk about how I came to give you this talk, which was funny, kind of about my life's journey in an hour. It was funny and easy. And then we did a workshop telling their stories. And I think it's a huge understanding that EO members everyone has an abundance of stories, right? They have a bag of how they started, failure and love and frustrations and everything. And I think if you want to be a better storyteller, meet people who are very good storytellers and kind of understand their structure. They have a structure. It's like good directors. They all have something. It's them, right? So study from the best.
So what's next for this EO media project that you want to work on? How can we help?
First of all, anyone can help if they have a good story and want to support the concept. My understanding was that EO as an organization needs to keep growing. We're not a closed cult anymore. We want more people to join, right? We want to spread the word, share their experiences and so on. But we sometimes use the budget to market outside instead of spending it on an EO member, which is interesting because what do we say to people? This is amazing. You have to join. Join what? I don't get it. What if we could share the story and say, look at 3 things about people who started from couch surfing and became successful entrepreneurs in different countries, right? And you identify and you say, I can feel that. What is this organ? I want to join it. So the understanding was, what if we only use EO member stories in Europe? I would love to have anyone, of course, to use that to promote a chapter, for example. So you take a story about one of my EO members in my chapter, how they succeeded. What's the one book, like you said, that changed their life and why, right? Something we can relate, we can think, we can feel something. We're taking those stories and creating them and uploading them to a website. I'm now doing a podcast, a video podcast. We have like 8 episodes live already. And the idea is that we share that not just with EO members. EO members are welcome to read, but we're pushing it to Europe, to young entrepreneurs, to students in colleges and universities, GSCA students, and so on. We're reaching out to newspapers, websites, collaborations, partnerships with different platforms, with SaaS products, and so on. We're saying, hey, this is what we're doing, and we want you to join. And people are reacting quite interestingly, like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll join. Now, if you take one good story from my chapter, for example, and you promote that in the region that the chapter needs to grow, for example, Central Israel, they get the leads they need. It's cheaper. People will promote it. It's easier to promote for a member. Hey, look, I've been featured on the EO website, rather than no one will share posts saying this is EO. No one cares. But people will share these things. And the idea is then to create a newsletter, which is open, not for EO members, but definitely open, more of a morning brew style or the hustle or whatever, using EO member stories. And I want to inspire 19, 20, 21-year-old people from Holland or Paris, Madrid and Spain and so on, and say, hey, one day you will want to join our accelerator. Hey, one day we hope you'll be the biggest and most successful member we've had in Europe. Here are great stories, and here you can reach out. And then the idea is to start selling the newsletter, and we can sell the ads on the website. And again, I'm not going to EO members. I'm asking EO members to share their experience, but not just with members, with everyone. If this works, for example, for $1,000 per newsletter, it's worth my company. It's worth my time to post one. And then if you do 52 emails, not necessarily one a day, one a week, we're already a good business. And I imagine you know that, but part of the partnership, the global partnership we have with Fiverr, for example, is we use everything through Fiverr. So some of the editing, the video, the graphics, the banners. Imagine if I ask you to write an article, we can then edit, create everything, and then we send you back the post that says I've been featured on the EO website and the signature to put on your email. I'll take care of everything. All you need to do is tell me a good story and I will make it amazing. And that's the concept.
How do they sign up? What's the website? Is it just for Europe?
At the moment, it's just for Europe, but hey, anyone can come in. Why not? I think the best way is to reach out. I'll give you my email details. You can probably add them, but they can send me an email to my company, and then we'll send that to the editor. And we are now adding a link where people can upload their stories through. At the moment, it will probably be just a Google form. And I think we need to do more workshops. We need to improve the way we do lectures within EO, the way we do meetings within our businesses. I'm now working on a big concept, a 20-minute video about how to improve your meetings in your business. And it has two ways. One is because I'm tired of meetings. I'm tired. In Israel, by the way, a meeting will start 5 to 10 minutes late. The first 10 minutes after that will go to, it was so hard to come here, there's so much traffic and finding a parking spot. Then we will talk that they couldn't find a parking spot, but the parking lot is so expensive. Then we'll discuss a little bit about the weather, which is always hot. I don't know why we need to discuss the weather again. Now half an hour has passed. And the next half an hour, we need to discuss about what we do, what they do, how we can collaborate. In the last 7 minutes, we need to do this. Understand what are the proposition, how are we going to collaborate, how much money it might have, when do we need to schedule another meeting, and can we check in our calendars because we have to already schedule it, so nothing happened. So why do we need such long meetings? We had a talk with Warren Rustin, a couple of months ago, and he said that the meeting over an hour, he used to ask to add the name, and the meeting would be a retreat. He said the meeting over an hour is a retreat. And it's interesting. So we started now doing 15-minute sessions. Everything is 15 minutes internally, where people just add everything, and we have kind of a scheduler, and we go over everything really quick. So we'll go over for example, twice a week for 15 minutes, we'll go over all our clients in 15 minutes. So it means that we upload, so we'll see the data, amount of leads, deals closed, and so on. What are we working on? Is the client in a good position, or we need to do something, we need to improve something? People will throw in ideas of what we might give the client that they didn't expect. A new campaign, a creative, some ideas, whatever, and we'll add that, and then we take everything from there. So everybody knows what's at the moment, what's happening with the client. So that means that if I'm out, if my account managers are out, anyone, the PPC guy can answer the phone and say, oh yeah, this is the situation, this is the amount of leads in the last few days, everyone's updated, but 15 minutes. We ask all the clients if we can do everything online, 30 minutes. And then using the EO concept, we send them the structure of the meeting a couple of hours before, and then we add that to the Zoom call or which platform we may use. So we only cover that. And now we started testing adding time. So update 3 minutes by Nir. Going reviewing the products, Kalika, 5 minutes, kind of like an EO meeting. And it works. They like it because they love the fact that we can finish a meeting in 20 minutes. And if you look at marketing is so hard. The moment, and you know that, services, the moment we sign the deal, it's a sand clock. Now the sand clock could be 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, but it's a sand clock. One point they will leave, it's not forever. You just don't know when and why. And we've learned over the years that sometimes if you give exceptional service, you can do an okay job and it works. They're fine. If you can give exceptional service and exceptional work, the sand clock might be very, very big. So we focus a lot on giving the service. A client told me a few weeks ago that she loves the fact that she could call anyone on my team and they will say done. She'll tell them what she needs and they say, I'm on it, done. There's a word in Hebrew when you say closed. It's done. And she says, I love it. I can call you with an idea, you get it. By the way, you might call and say, it won't work, we checked, we tested, we have a different idea and so on, but we're not, that's why we become your outsourced marketing team, right? So we think big, we work with you, we give you the options. We don't just do what you need or you ask. And you're paying for that, for thinking time, for ideation and so on. And people love it. And if you look at it, what are you selling? What is your service? When I do consulting, I charge a few $100s an hour. People are then measuring my hour compared to their hour, or to their employee's hour, or to any other value, or to another consultant hour, and so on. When I help startups work on their story, which is always interesting. Okay, last month, 3 out of the 6 I worked with have already raised money. We didn't change anything. Okay, it's the same company, same team. They didn't raise money before. The product hasn't changed. The only thing that changed is the way they told those initial 3 minutes. It's the only thing. And they raised money. Now, if you raise 5 million, which by the way is becoming now a very okay number here, okay, where companies here are raising 200 million for their B rounds, C round could be 300 million, something crazy. Now, if you have that story and that's changed and it's worth, when you raise money like 5 million, how much is that time with me worth? I calculate that according to what I charge for other things. Rather, I should charge how much is it worth for you, because a percent for 5 is great, right? So it's a perceived value that I think we need to understand of how do we give good service. And a lot of the time, it's not about just the stories, the perceived value you tell them. If they agree, everything is easier, right? So $400 or $500 could be a huge amount for certain reasons. If you calculate according to an hour, but if it's according to raising 5 million, $10,000 is nothing. So we are now, in the terms of marketing, working a lot on making sure that the perceived value in every step is important. How do we manage to charge what I think now, which for years I made the wrong calculations. I would charge to my perceived value, not to their perceived value. And then you have great service. Make sure that the perceived value is high enough. And another thing that you probably know and can relate is everything on the planet, in my opinion, is subjective. Sometimes I think I did the best. You think I didn't do enough, right? It goes to relationships. By the way, it goes to my form. It goes to anything, right? So a lot of the time is about trying to understand how can we walk their shoes in terms of a perspective. So can we kind of get the subjective ideas a bit closer? And I think that is important in terms. And by the way, if you do all these things, the work becomes better just by the way people perceive it, not necessarily about what actually happened. Okay. We have a client that called us for an emergency meeting. They have less leads. We had in May 267 leads. In June, we have 261. Okay. By the way, I think it's a shorter month or whatever. It doesn't matter. For us, nothing happened. For them, when we look at the numbers, we see the reason and what's happening with the situation and COVID and so on. The way they perceive it is very crucial. And it's interesting, the change we made to make them happy was not talking about the leads at all, but rather understanding how we can increase the conversion of the leads that already came in. So by diverting the conversation between good or bad and saying, hey, but can we look at the rest of the funnel? I become a better marketeer because it's my whole service. And they understand that we don't necessarily think it's so important. So we're not diverting because we don't care, but we think here you can make more money. Again, subjective about how everybody perceives the number, but it's the same number, right?
Wow. You need to create a digital marketing agency book. I'll read it too.
I'll send you an autograph one the moment.
Yeah, when it comes out. So we're halfway through the year in 2021. It went by fast. What do you see unfolding in the next couple of months and also in 2022 as it relates to marketing and sales for businesses?
I think, interestingly enough, people are not creating enough content in 2021. I don't know if you saw the numbers, but YouTube has just advertised that Shorts has crossed the 15 billion mark. And I just added that to my newsletter today, which I sent. And I think Facebook has 50% of the content, and the biggest driving force is Reels. But 50% of the content now is video. And people are saying people are not on Facebook, but numbers are growing depending on the markets, of course, with everything. Creation of content is still very easy. What you and I are doing is very simple. Technology-wise, it's nothing. Editing, you can do editing by yourself. It's so simple. But people are now overthinking the concept. When I talk to a CEO and I tell him, you need to be out there. People need to see you. Why? They see a name of a company. It's exactly like every other company. And again, going back to your brand book, you're just a company. Okay? But when I see a person, I can relate. By the way, I can like, I can dislike, everybody with their own things, and that's fine. But I see a persona, I see a passion, I see a drive, and I say, you know what, I like this guy. I'll follow him on social, right? Maybe they'll buy, maybe they will never buy, maybe they will follow. By the way, maybe their best friend in 6 months might need your services. But the important thing is, people will say, CEOs, male, female, yeah, but I don't create content, or I don't write, or I don't like video, and I don't like. So here's the thing. I believe that the next two things I'm going to tell you are true to everyone on this planet. I do it in every workshop. Everybody on the planet likes to talk, and everybody on the planet likes to be listened to. You just need to be in the right place with the right topic and so on. If I'll ask you about your podcast and how it's going, if I'll ask you about, I don't know, your daughters, okay, and you'll be like, oh, but they're doing this and that, and you can go on for hours, right? When people show me the pictures of their babies and go on for hours, okay? So if I'll ask you about your hobby, by the way, in Israel, the hobby is usually I have a startup, and I'll ask them to talk about it in a bar, they'll go on a rant and tell me this is going well and this is not, and I need this, but they'll ramble and ramble and 30 minutes, nothing for them. They can go on for days. If you talk to me about my business, I'll go on for weeks. Now, if I'll ask people, jump on a call like this with me, on a Zoom, a team, whatever, I'll ask you about your business and you tell me about your business. That's easy. Oh, great. So do that. Now, don't create a podcast. Answer one question. Give me one tip. Give me an observation that I might not hear from other people, because everybody has an opinion, right? And everybody thinks their business is better than others. If not, they will probably close shop. And people know that what they're doing is unique because, and they can share it. Now what happens is, what if you only create those 6-7 minute formats, cut them, chop them into pieces? You know the script, the platform? Great. The script, unbelievable platform.
I
You
love
go
it.
on the script. Amazing. You go on the script. It even understands me with my accent, right? You go on the script. So I film a short video. By the way, I use Riverside, which is also a partner of EO, if everybody needs the affiliate link. But Riverside records on a 4K, which is better than Zoom and all the other platforms. You record on a 4K session. You take it into the script. It transcribes everything. Now you have a 7-minute video with 3 tips. You cut that into the 3 tips. You have 4 videos. You edit those on any platform. There's free platforms, and EO members can pay a few bucks and everything's fine. And then you put that, which is simple, you put that on YouTube. Now you have a channel. You put it on your website. People love video. You put it on Facebook, on Twitter. The short versions, you put them on Shorts, Reels, TikTok, whatever you want. You take the transcript as is, make it into a blog post. By the way, on the script, you can take out the all these, just take them out. It's easy. It's one click. Now you have a blog post on your website. Now go to Medium and duplicate it. You can ask Medium to take out all the content and put it so it's not a duplication, and Google likes it. Take those paragraphs. So now, if you look at it, in a 6 or 7 minute video that you can probably be amazing at, I just showed you how you can create about 35 pieces of content. If you do this once a week with your CEO, COO, ask your CMO to record you to talk about these things. Pick 2 or 3 topics once a week, 7 minutes. If you do that in the next 2 months, you have about 100 pieces of content randomized, and you have a whole working plan for social media, and you become the #1 CEO creating content in whatever country you want to be in. Hello. So I went to Fiverr, which we work with, and we're now building a course on Udemy and Coursera, and we're also offering that service, which is, it's funny. You know why we're offering the service? Because I'm creating the content and I'm telling people how to do it, and they still call me and ask if we can do it for them. I showed you everything. It's free. Do it. If EO members take what I just said and do it for free, okay? And one day they say, hey, this Israeli guy taught us. Great. But people still call me and say, I saw what you are doing. Can you do it for me? Not teach me, do it for me. So I think in the next 6, 10, 12 months, if you create enough buzz and enough noise on social media, if you're out there, I think that will be the biggest impact. I want to share with you something else about content. I left teaching in college because I believe there's a different way to educate people. I believe we need to share the experiences. We need to share the knowledge. The big companies, they know how to pay, but the small businesses, it's more difficult for them. In Israel, which is different than the US, we're a very tiny market. I've created a website that has over 150 articles. We're not charging anything. They're for free for small-time entrepreneurs, students, young people, people who need help. They want to understand better about entrepreneurship, marketing, sales, how to build a brand, and so on. And the content is free. The interesting thing is people reach out. Streetwise COIL. It's only in Hebrew. But I took the website of my company. Now, my company's website now is streetwiseagency.com, and that's only in English, startups, big companies, and everything. But the website in Hebrew, free. I'm not selling anything. They can see my podcast, my videos. By the way, when they reach out and say, do you do consulting hours? I say no, but ask us. If the question is good, we will reply with either an article or a video for free. And to keep the education concept going, I reached out to the college, and I've chosen 3 amazing students from my last class, and they're being paid. And I teach them twice a week at the office, writing, working, how to build a concept, how to do marketing, what is a real strategy and not just wording and so on. And I decided to pay them because I think then there's an accountability, and we at EO love accountability, right? I can demand things to happen. I can tell them I'm measuring and it's not good enough. Because there are 3, they're young and they still have 2 years in college, I told them, no problem, I'll hire you guys, but you come as a package deal. You are also accountable to one another. You have an exam and you can't do the article, they need to do it. Okay. And we are now seeing about a 10% increase only on my YouTube channel from changes they have made, from tags, thumbnails, they're now editing. Okay. Now I'm getting once a week an ask from other students from other places or former students, can they also come and join? So we are now doing a junior to pro concept. We're going to launch it end of September with the college, where I'm going to pick 4 students, pay them. I own them for 4 months, teach them everything. The best will get a job offer to stay with me. And we are now working out all the legal details, because it's payments and how you do it and what happens if they're not up to the task and so on. But if we believe as entrepreneurs that we have the ability, and especially now when we can't get good employees, because the tech companies are paying twice as much as I can pay, we need to go back to the basics, go to the juniors, and find people who are hungry, who are willing to learn, who want to achieve things, who want to move up the ladder. And there are millions like that all over the world. And it's up to us as EO members, in my opinion, to do it. Do it with one person. Do it with a cousin of a friend of an employee. And I also understand that these people will learn, and most of them will move on. But I will become a place, the starting ground for a lot of good people. And you said earlier, You go to university or college for the network. Imagine if in 10 or 15 years, these people are the next CMOs in major companies. We have built the updated new network through teaching and working together. And I think that's where I'm seeing the next steps of teaching marketing, and why marketing is so connected to branding, to storytelling, why you can't do employer branding without the brand and without knowing marketing. It's all connected, and we kind of divided everything into too many pieces, in my opinion. It's about people.
You are brilliant, always creative, always up to something. You're amazing here. So, can you leave us with some parting words, last advice to aspiring entrepreneurs who are listening to this podcast? This is a global podcast.
I think 3 years ago, I went to a meeting. There were a dozen people in a company. Everyone had a title. I couldn't understand what everyone was doing. It was such bullshit, pardon. It wasn't interesting. I couldn't get the titles. And what do you actually do in your business? There's like, I went out of the meeting. I called my CEO and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? I need a calling card with a different title. And he said, CEO? I said, no, I'm not the CEO. Write Chief of Happiness. It makes me laugh. And remember, end of the day, you make people feel something. People sometimes sign a contract with me, even though they know I'm not the best, I'm not the cheapest, I'm not a lot of things. But they say, I don't know why, but something about it makes me feel I want to work with you. And again, in marketing, 90% of the time it works. But sometimes after 3 months, we come back to a client and we say, listen, we tried. I think you need to go to someone else. And that's also being honest to your clients and to your business and to your employees. But if you remember, at every step, we add the feeling that we want to achieve. The customer journey, the employer journey, right? The way we work with our suppliers. The fact that we pay on time, because I hate being paid late. The fact that I pay on time now in Israel is a big thing. People love it, okay? Because no one does that. And it's so small. And the money's in the bank anyway. If you don't have it, don't worry. But feeling. Add a feeling to everything. You go into a meeting with a client. What do we want to achieve? We want to make them feel good, bad. And if you think about it, in a form update, you add feelings. How did you feel? Why don't you do it in every step of your life? And another thing, we added to our updates 2 things now that we want to achieve by the end of the year in my form. So if you want to lose weight, everybody wants to lose weight, but they don't do anything about it. Or you want to train more, or you want to invest more in crypto. I don't care, whatever. For me, it was creating a new online course. I always say I'll do it, and I find ways to procrastinate about it. So we added 2 things that people want to focus on. We added 1 minute to our update, and we added an accountability coach. So for everything, I have an accountability coach. So I've added the KPIs, numbers, metrics, how much time, how much money, how is it going to look, and so on. And which member in my form is going to be helping me with accountability and a deadline. So I encourage people to add that. I think it's become something very big for us, and it's fun. And my whole form is now training at least twice a week. I think our combined is like 100 pounds we've lost. Okay. So it's been fun. I'm now working with another member about investments, which I've never done. We're working on doing courses together, and I think it's a great vibe and a great addition. And if anyone wants the form, I've created one. So.
Oh, I would love that. We can put it in the link in the podcast description.
And
I want to join your digital course accountability group. Same thing. Like, I want to do a course.
Come on.
Never gets done.
I think it's about having fun at the end of the day, right?
But did you finish it? You finished your course after being
it's
held accountable?
Yeah. So I'm accountable by the end of the year. If everything goes well, I'm going to launch mid-September. It's written. We started recording. We're now working on the concept of the back of like everything that's going to show on the screen. I think mid-September, I'm going to send you a link. Any EO member wants, I don't care. I'll send it to anyone to get reviews or whatever, or hear thoughts. And yeah, but it's and this is also a great accountability. I just promised you I'll do it. So
Yeah, mid-September, I'll give you a call. Is
that's
it going to be
good.
Udemy?
Yeah, I'm going to do Udemy and Coursera. The first course is going to be about how to create all 35 pieces of content through the 7-minute video, which I think is going to be just the most useful to people. After that, we're going to do how to be interesting in 3 minutes, a guide to storytelling. And
I like that.
I'll send that also. No problem.
Oh my goodness, Nir, thank you so much for all you do. You're so inspirational. You are always up to something wonderful and always helping EO. Thank you so much for helping everyone here who's listening. It was Nir who got us that Fiverr sponsorship. And so everyone, if you're saving money now, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, not only going to maybe your company, but also to the region, it's because of Nir's attention to detail.
By the way, we have to be honest about everything. First of all, I'm using Fiverr now, and it's been amazing for my company, all the way to doing big things like market research in the US, which cost us 10% of what it used to cost us and stuff like that. But one of the reasons why EO got that partnership is because my COO decided it was time for her to move on, and she wanted to go to a big company and see how organizations work. And she went to Fiverr. And sometimes when they're thinking about stuff and creative, she raises her hand and say, my former boss, he does. So they were looking for an interesting global partnership. She happened to be in the meeting, and she said, my boss is involved in you want to talk to him? And the meeting was really good. And we clicked with the partnerships, the division department, and Eli, which is in charge there, was awesome. And that's how we got it, which is also a big part of what's the DNA of a company, I think, because the benefits are now for 15,000 members.
Yeah, and beyond, right? Because they've got so many companies themselves.
Yeah. So
well, thank you so much. I won't keep you longer. It's almost what, 11 o'clock there. Thank you so much for staying up on a Friday night. You're a trooper. And hopefully we'll have you on again to see where. Yeah.
Don't worry, I own 2 bars, so I still have to go out drinking. So 11 is early, so don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Nir.
Thank you for having me.